Hello, everyone. This is Jay Wicker with Small Business Stand Up. And as you guys can see, I have a phenomenal investor, business owner, entrepreneurs. You do a little bit of everything, guys. My name is Miss LaShay LaRue. What's going on, Miss LaShay?
LaRue. Hi,
Hold on.
everyone. My name is
LaShay LaRue. LaRue? Did I say that right? Okay.
LaRue.
You're
LaRue.
going
It's
in now.
LaRue.
LaRue. Okay.
It's
Okay. You're chopping up a
mm-hmm.
little bit here now, but we'll go through it. We'll go through it. I apologize about that. I'm trying to make sure I get better at when I say people's names. I have a horrible thing with that. I'll be destroying people's names, but I get mine destroyed too. So I feel like I'm an equal opportunity offender. so, so,
Right.
well, listen. Well, listen, Miss LaShay, she's actually on Small Business Stand Up podcast as well. She do quite a. I looked at. I just looked you up, man. You do a lot of stuff, man. So how are you sane? That's the first question. How are you able to do what you do?
Well, you know what? I will say first and foremost, not to be such a cliche, but it is only through my maker that I have the strength to do all of these different things. God definitely gives me the ability to stay focused on what my mission is, and I just feel incredibly blessed to be able to use my gifts to help others. So that would be 100% how I'm able to stay sane with all this craziness going on.
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure your team. You have to have a strong team to do the stuff that you do, man.
Of course, of course. My team is everything from family to which my family is my biggest support system, but also the people who I work with and I contract out to for various services. So definitely having a team is important for any entrepreneur. You can't really scale unless you're able to create a system and bring along like-minded people who are as motivated about your mission as you are.
Listen, you said a key word. You said scale. I know a lot of entrepreneurs when they first get into business, right? They don't even think about that. But that's important, man. So I think before you even start a business, you should think about scaling it before you even jump off the porch, so to speak. So that's huge. So listen, we're gonna get into all of that good stuff. We're gonna start off by who is Miss LaShay? Who are you?
Yeah, so um, if I had to sum me up, I would say that I am a little bit of a busybody. I have never been a person who is comfortable or even happy by just doing one thing, right? I have always been known for having multiple things going on, from my cosmetic line to my business development agency to owning group homes to I actually recently got a puppy who rules a lot of life. So I would just say I'm a little bit of a busybody. I am a forever student. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn and hone in on my skills. So any opportunity that presents itself, for me to learn something new, I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. That in general, I would say those are kind of my passions. And if someone were to ask you who is LaShay, something that I feel like any one of my family members would say that too. And also, family is a really big part of my life as well, from my little brother to my parents, my fiance, just everyone who is in my life, my best friend and God baby. They all mean a lot to me, and that's one of the greatest things about being an entrepreneur, is that I am able to control my schedule and to make time for the things that are most important to me. And I'm so thankful to have that as an option, because so many people aren't able to do that.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So where did you get this entrepreneur spirit from? Was your mom or your dad entrepreneurs?
Hey, are you back?
Yeah, can you hear me? I think you're chopping up a little bit. Where did you get this entrepreneur spirit from?
Yep.
Was your mom or your dad entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so actually, both my parents have an entrepreneurial spirit. So I would say I inherited from my complete genetic makeup, but especially with my dad. My dad has always had businesses since I was little. I remember his first pager store, and he hired me as the quote
Wow,
unquote
pager
manager.
store.
Yeah, pager store.
Wow,
So I'm talking like back in
wow.
the
Yeah,
day.
that's back in the
Yeah,
day for real.
That's
Yeah.
back in the day. And I would, be his little mini me and follow him around. And he would tell everyone, this is the manager, she's the boss. And I never really realized how different that was. To me, that was just my childhood, right? I never really realized that, not everybody grows up with a parent who has an entrepreneurial mind and is willing to put them into position to learn some of those entrepreneurial skills and to build confidence, because confidence is very key, very important, and it allowed me to, at a very young age, I got full force into the workforce when I was 15 years old, and it just never really looked back from then. So I was never really intimidated by my age taking on some high level positions or going after large contracts, because I knew that I could do it. And I never really realized that he was planting those seeds so long ago. And I'm so glad that he did. And I hope to be able to pass along that legacy to, even my kids, because when I see so many people who feel like they're just living a life that's given to them, and that they let the fear of failure and let an imposter syndrome kind of cloud their mind and prevent them from really going after their dreams. And I think that, my dad starting so many businesses, and that's actually what led me to the field that I'm in now with business development. It was me helping him out with his businesses. Although he is the creative personality and he's the go-getter and he'll take advantage of any opportunity, he's not so keen on the follow-up. So the managerial side, the organizing, the documentation, that was never his cup of tea. So for me, it was fun, which sounds really geeky and weird to say, but I really enjoyed helping to, create organization and create structure and create these systems, because I would have to go back to school. So while I'm in school, I knew that I was creating, an impact on the family business so that he could scale and move on to the next thing.
Dope. So you was in school before you was in school.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I was
He had
before I
you
was
thinking like an entrepreneur back then. That's huge, man.
right,
Yeah, not
right.
everybody grew up in that environment though. I know you probably found that out very soon after that though. Like,
You
hey, your
know
dad have
what?
a business. You never did this, but
It wasn't until I would say in my adult life, I actually always had an issue. So for me, you would think for most people, it's a great thing to have a go getter employee. However, a lot of the workforce really doesn't reward that type of mindset. They feel like you're coming in on their territory. They're afraid of you making them look bad, or
the
even worse
politics,
in their
the
eyes,
politics of it
exactly
all. Yeah, that's
taking
true.
their job. And I never had that mindset. I had the mindset that if I'm hired to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm not taking this job for me to, just work at McDonald's or work at Popeyes. I'm taking this because there are skills that I can learn that I can use later on in life, because I am going to own my own business. So I never took things as just, okay, let me collect a paycheck and that's it. You never know. Where when I was waitressing, I had one of my favorite clients would come in and talk to me often when I was in college, and that person actually helped me to lay the foundation for what later became my real estate career, because they recommended me for an office position at a hotel that they were working at. And that was an industry that I didn't have, direct experience. So, but that came from a connection that I made. And that's why I always took every job with, I'm here to build relationships. I'm here to
Absolutely.
build my own personal experience. But I faced a lot of backlash from managers and from other employees because they didn't want to put in that work, which it took me a while.
Yeah.
Right. It took me a while before I understood the mindset behind that, because to me, it just made no sense. To me, this was normal life. This was regular life. My grandmother actually was an assistant state prosecutor in Ohio handling child related services. And, she would also take me with her to to work and take me around and introduce me to everyone. And so I was used to being in an environment and being around people who were my senior, who knew obviously way more than I could ever imagine. But I admired those people. I never, so I couldn't imagine seeing someone else who's out there who's doing it, if they're doing more than you, and feeling negative about that. I always viewed that as a positive thing and something that you should be inspired by. But
Absolutely.
when I got into the workforce, I found that it wasn't always that way. And again, it really wasn't until I got older and I started going down my true career path that I started to ask more of those questions. Okay, well, why do I think this way? And then I really kind of started to look around, because I feel like a lot, when they say birds of a feather flock together, and like minds, tend to attract other like minds. So for my close immediate circle, they're like me. My close circle, they're go-getters. One of my really good friends is a 2-time congressional award-winning publicist, so
Mm.
it's just I tend to want to be around other like-minded, go-getting individuals to help inspire and motivate me
Yeah,
to keep doing what I'm doing. So I never really realized that that wasn't necessarily everybody's experience. And once I started to diversify my circle, and now I do think that's very important that we diversify our circles, because
absolutely.
if all you have around you are people who kind of speak to your mindset, you limit yourself in being able to see other people's perspectives. And that was definitely a journey that I found myself on over the last 5 years or so, just trying to learn
Yeah.
more about other people, their backgrounds, and their cultures.
Man, that is so important. You're absolutely right what you just said. A lot of times, man, we tend to put ourselves in a box, right? And then when different ideas or different things are coming up, popping up, whatever the case is, we in this box. We so secluded, we don't even get that, or we get it late, and then we like, why did we even know about this? Or why, you know what I'm saying? Because you put yourself in a situation to where you couldn't get this information. You know what I'm saying? So another thing you just brought up too, man, about
Exactly.
a lot of times, man, people do just enough not to get fired at these jobs. You know what I'm saying?
They call
Just
it
enough not to
quiet
get fired.
quitters.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. So
right.
a person coming in who's on fire, who's really trying to get things done, it seems like everybody kind of start hating on them or whatever the case is, right? And it kind of boxes you in till you say, you know what, I'm out of here. And it's like now they feel they can breathe or whatever the case is. But like you say, when you get into your purpose and you doing something that you know that you should be doing right now at this point in time, you able to fly now. You know what I'm saying? And you get around those people who think like you can't do nothing but win. You can't do nothing but win. So I salute you with that, man.
Exactly.
So
You're
yeah,
exactly right.
and your father as well, teaching you, as a young lady growing up to look at you now. You're doing your thing. So now you're strat with your business development strategist, right? What is that? What's a
Hmm.
business
Yeah.
development strategy?
Okay, so I love that question, because business development is something that can be considered very general, but in essence, what a business development strategist is someone who is able to coach or consult on an individual's business and help them to operate more efficiently. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at the entire customer journey from beginning to end, look at all the facets of your business and make sure that they are all beginning with the end in mind, which is something that unfortunately most businesses do not do. Most businesses will just start a business because they have found that there is a particular product or a service that does very well in the market, and they're just trying to put all their efforts behind it, but they're not really strategic in their actions. They know social media is something that you need to have, so they create accounts, but there is no strategic planning behind that. So what I do is I come into businesses and I look at their full operations, because if I'm going to do your marketing, it does you no good for me to put a lot of effort and a lot of work into a huge marketing campaign, but in your internal office, no one is actually answering the phone, or you don't really have a system for even tracking your leads, or you're not communicating to them what promotions you have on board. So it really is an all-encompassing service. It's about looking at the business as a whole and figuring out how we can make it more efficiently. I always say that business development is the work that's done to get you to a marketable state. And that's where the strategic marketing takes place at that point, once you're at a developed state. So you have a great brand that is consistent across all of your platforms. You have a website that is optimized for SEO as well as lead conversion. You have email marketing tools that are in place to collect those leads, to start nurturing those relationships. And then once all that foundational stuff is done, then we start focusing in on the marketing aspect and figuring out which marketing perspective works best for you. Is it a guerrilla marketing perspective, or is it a strictly social media perspective, or is it something where you really need to be in front of people? Are we focusing on a lot of PR? So every
Yeah.
client is going to be different, but that's essentially what business development is. Business development is getting you to that marketable state so that you can take or advantage of the full benefits that comes along with the sound marketing plan.
See, most big businesses have a department that does what you're talking about doing, right? And this is the cause why a lot of small businesses go out of business because you may have a pile of money, right? And you put it on a marketing that maybe not even really for what you're doing, right? Or you have no way of seeing if you put money on this, you put money on this, which one of the money is coming from or the business is coming from. You need somebody to be able to tie those together. So you can know what to put money into, what not to put money into, how to promote this thing, and how to brand yourself the whole nine. This is very important. This is very
Exactly. And it's key what you just said. Most big businesses have someone full time
yeah.
who does exactly what I do. And that is why I created my agency to help the small businesses, because it's obviously a necessity, right? The big businesses wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't a very important and very vital part of business scalability, of business growth. So what I actually do is I provide retainer services for small business owners, so they're able to take advantage of some of these benefits at a fraction of the cost of trying to hire someone full time to take on these things. If you were to hire a business strategist or a business developer, you're 9 times out of 10 paying a salary as well as commissions. And for a lot of small businesses, that's not really feasible. But for myself, a lot of it, what I learned is that most business, it's the same, right? If you understand how business structure needs to go as far as the back office, everything else is researching about that specific field, and then making sure that you hire right, hiring the people who have gone to school to handle, the logistics of the actual business, or to actually execute, I guess I should say, the product. But I've created the logistical side of it. You can really do any business. So since I'm solely focused on, different trends that are out there, seeking out different technologies that are kind of simplifying the process, and I do this full time, it takes less time for me to take on a new client than for them to hire someone new who has to, work a little bit at a learning curve. Even if you were hiring a social media manager, a lot of times people will say, okay, well, I don't need all that. I just need someone to handle my social media. But that's untrue. If you don't even understand how social media goes, if your business is not structured in a way to be able to capture content, your social media manager, it's going to be fairly ineffective. Just going to be completely honest about that. So I like to bring my clients in to educate them on what needs to happen and give them the research behind why we need to handle their particular marketing on social media this way, because we've gone and looked at the data, we've looked at your competitors and found what's actually working for your particular niche. And I think that's a lot more powerful than necessarily going with someone just because they work a lot in that field. A lot of times when you are so focused on just a particular niche or a particular industry, you end up building or developing tunnel vision. And because I work across all different fields, I am constantly looking at opportunities where this technology that's maybe mainly used in oil and gas, and how that can actually apply to a service provider and their CRM program, and vice versa. I'm looking at what opportunities are out there that can work best for your specific needs. So I think that's something that's really important for entrepreneurs, and that's why my business is set up the way that it is. It's something that's actually not common. I actually don't really know too many people who offer retainer services. And when you think about retainer services, kind of like for an attorney, right? So if you know that you own a business and at any given point in time somebody could potentially sue you, you will hire an attorney and hold them on retainer. You pay them a set amount so that when you need that service, you're able to use them. So I pretty much do the same thing, but from a business development and marketing standpoint. So clients will retain my services for a set amount of hours, and I will work specifically on their business for those hours on a monthly basis. So they can always see the ball moving forward at the stage that makes the most sense for them and their budget.
Yeah. Now that's huge, guys. what she just broke down. So I know a lot of people probably said, get a strategist, a business strategist, a development strategist, right? Man, we talking about a whole lot of money. But you just broke it down, man. You use the service as needed. You can retain her, right? Put
Exactly.
down so much money. I don't know how she do it, a weekly, a monthly, or whatever the case is. And then when you need her, she's right there, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
this is not a thing of, am I going to need it? It's when you going to need this person.
Exactly, exactly. And really, you always need someone who is kind of, you have the ability to go to help you out and make sure your process is working very seamlessly. A lot of times, and honestly, people spend more money by trying to piece out these services. They'll hire someone to do their website, they'll hire someone to create content, they'll hire someone to do their blog writing, they'll hire someone to send out emails. But when the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, very hard for everything to be cohesive, right? So that's what I do. I'll come in and I am essentially your marketing director. I am the person who's responsible for creating the plan and then sending out that plan so that the different pieces can do it, and verifying and making sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. So you don't necessarily need me to be working 40 hours a week on that. You only maybe need me working 5 hours a week on that, and just working continuously, because a lot of people look at marketing as a luxury, as an additional option that they'll do once they finally get enough money. But realistically, if you don't invest in marketing, you're not investing in your business, and you will never have enough money to take on that. You have to be strategic. You have to understand its importance. The importance of marketing is exactly that: scaling. You cannot scale your business if you are not investing into your marketing and making sure that you are constantly prospecting and bringing in new clients. If you're not always working on that, you're going to find yourself in moments where you have slim to no customers. You're going to find yourself in places where you do have a lot of money, but you will never have consistency if you do not have an active marketing plan and professionals who are knowledgeable at their particular craft. A lot of times people will say, well, I can do that. I can handle the social media. I can handle the marketing. I've read a book, I've listened to Grant Cardone, or I've listened to Gary Vee, and not to say that those individuals aren't great, because they are, but they are professional content producers. So when Gary says, be omnipresent on all platforms and you have to be go, 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 realistically, for most entrepreneurs who aren't necessarily in a sales position, a lot of entrepreneurs, they're busy working in the business, right? They're wearing all the different hats. So when you're in that position, is it really the most effective use of your time to try to learn how to become a master social media marketer? Is that really
And,
the best use of your time?
and they may be working a full-time job too.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you don't have the
So
time to do it. Yeah.
exactly. And that's exactly what it is. It's time is money, right? So for example, if I were talking to a photographer, right? A photographer may charge $200 for an hour of their work, right? But trying to learn how to work social media may take them 5 hours. That's $1,000 that you are missing on because you chose to spend your time trying to learn this completely new skill, only for the Facebook or Instagram algorithm to completely change in 3 months. And now you're back at square one and you've got to learn about all those changes and what's the best way to make sure that your message is getting out there to people. In that same amount of time, you could have hired someone like me, where I'm bringing in professionals within my agency that can completely tackle that task while you're out there working, while you're out there getting the money. So it's twofold, right? How marketing and business development helps you. It helps you by not requiring you yourself to take this time to learn this new skill that you're not really going to use nearly as much as I'm going to use that skill, and then allowing you to go out there and get more business. And then additionally, it itself is going to bring in new business for you. So it's not really a question of if you need social media marketing or any type of marketing or business development strategist. It's more so, when are you going to finally take action? Take action and invest in your business in the way that you need to in order to scale.
So I mean, you hit a lot of great points there. So we talk about like a social media specialist, right? Social media. I mean, I've just learned this the other day when you was on the Small Business Stand Up podcast. We was talking about this. Like, it's the time of the day is better where posting on Facebook will get you more views. Social, it's an age range probably on Facebook rather than on Snapchat or whatever the case is. Look, I don't have a desire to learn all that. I got stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? You need to hire Miss LaShay to run that for you to where you can focus more on your business. You know what I'm saying? And that will ultimately generate finance for you, money for you, whatever the case is. So there's so much stuff that I had no idea about. I don't have a desire to even go and try to dive into it to look at these type of things, man. So yeah, you definitely need somebody like her to run that. And man,
no, that's exactly right.
I don't know. I was like, wow, I never
it's a lot that goes into it. People think that you just take a picture and pose, but no, the Kardashians or the singers of the world and all these content creators, and you think, oh, they just spend their time, on vacation. And that's not really true. There is a lot of work that has to go into, even for the people who just do dances. You know how many hours they spend practicing, and then even after they do that practicing, the editing that goes behind those videos, it's a lot of work. And it's funny that you mentioned about a certain time of day to post and the demographics of the individuals, because a lot of people will think, oh, well, I just did a quick Google search and this is what came up. But realistically, it's subjective. The audience that works for you is not necessarily going to be the audience that works for me. The best time for you to post is not going to necessarily be the best time to post for me. If you are a Forex trader and you have an audience that is worldwide, well, you're going to have some late nights, right? Because when we're sleeping, the other side of the world is up and moving. And if that's who you're trying to reach, you need to be where your audience is. So first you have to identify who your audience is. And that's something that I found a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. They'll say generic things like, my audience is between 18 to 55, which you might as well not even have a number. If that's your target audience, that's pretty much people. Do you have a pulse? Or they'll say things, it's just entrepreneurs. Well, what does that mean? Entrepreneurship is a vast array. So really specifying what your niche is something that I help entrepreneurs with, because how can you know who you're talking to or what you need to say if you don't know who you're talking to, right? And a lot of times without having a target audience or knowing what your niche is, it's like, I always say, it's like standing in a crowded room and just yelling to the top of your lungs how great your business is and hoping that somebody listens, likes, and buys. Realistically, if we were standing in that room with the person standing in the middle just screaming, we would think that's weird. We find that to be very exactly. And that's why a lot of the things that people do that they call marketing, why it's ineffective, because you're just standing in the center of a room screaming, hoping that somebody listens, that somebody, likes what it is that you have to say and they take action. And yeah, you may get, a person here or there. A broke clock is right twice a day. So you may get, something, but you're not going to get nearly as much, especially for the effort that you are putting into it, because an ineffective social media post that doesn't really reach a lot of people, that doesn't mean that a lot of time didn't go into it. A lot of time did. It's the research necessarily, and the know-how and the understanding of who your target audience is that's missing. That's what I try to bring to the table to people, that research aspect. That's how I start every single project. I spend about 30 days researching your profiles, researching your competition, researching the industry as a whole, researching the different tools that I think we need to incorporate within your marketing plan in order for you to really get the full benefits. And then we work on execution. But even on the execution side, even for me as an entrepreneur, I'm a social media specialist as well, but it's difficult for me to keep up with my own social media. Why? Because I'm focused on my clients. That's the story of every entrepreneur. If you are a passionate person about your craft as an entrepreneur, you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. And it's going to be hard. It'll always be, oh, I can do it tomorrow, or I can do it next week, or oh, this weekend is going to be the time that I sit down and I create all these posts, when you could have just outsourced to someone who created all that and made sure you were consistent.
And that brain power that you use overuse,
Right.
whatever the case is, you can, hey, go on, hey, you take care of that. Let me go kick it with my kids this weekend, or whatever.
Exactly.
So you're right.
Exactly.
True relaxation that you really need, so you can tackle Monday. So
Exactly.
so listen, I got a quick question for you. So because I know you do this full time now, correct?
Yes, correct.
So how did the day feel, that last day at your job, when you walked away and say, "Look, I'm out of here"? What did can you think back on that? How did you feel that day?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you about the day before and the day of, right? So before I made the final decision, I was working at a job that originally I absolutely loved. I felt like I was a total kick butt worker. I love what I did. I love meeting people. I loved educating. It was essentially a dream job, in that it was like what I'm doing now, to a certain extent, on steroids, with the amount of reach that I was able to have. And I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, we had a change in management, and I ended up finding myself once again in one of those situations where other people who didn't have the same entrepreneurial spirit go to. I mean, when I tell you I was dedicated at that job and entrepreneur minded, like, I hired my own personal assistant, because it was like, I got all these businesses going on, but I got a 9 to 5 that I need to do. So I'm bringing in someone on my own dime, and they can handle these smaller tasks that don't take my brain power. Like, I can be more effective. I know that day, my tech came from like a vacation, and I was like, oh yeah. So I slid her like 9 contracts that I had brought in over the last like 2 weeks. And she was like, oh, wow, like really surprised, right? Because that was double what I've ever brought in. And I slid her the contracts, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I've been working on, so you can take a look at it. And actually, you should meet my assistant. She's going to be here on Tuesday. I think you'll really like her. And she was kind of like, what? Your assistant? What do you mean? Because I mean, I definitely was a person who believed in it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Like, so I just went for it, because the way I'm at it, how are you going to tell me how I can spend my money? Like,
yeah, if it's on your dime, absolutely.
If I want to invest my money, I mean, if I'm paying this assistant $500 even a month because I only need her part time, but I'm able to double my production, why would you be upset about that? So I was very much so that person. When we had the change in management and she was no longer there, the person who was hired to take her case was not a person who really nurtured entrepreneurial spirit, who really tried to stop me from doing things just because it made it more difficult for the other markets, because they weren't producing at the level that I was producing. So rather than motivate them and to manage them and develop them up to that level, he tried to stifle me.
Give your life.
Exactly. Exactly. To the
Wow.
point that it just became so overwhelming. I would have to spend so much time. I mean, it got to the point of blatant lies, trying to like blame different things, but as if, my UT education doesn't have the knowledge or the know-how to defend myself. Like, if you're going to come for me, come correct. Okay. And it was just too much. It was like, why am I even doing this? I love this job because I was able to help. I wanted to help. I was working with vendors at the time, and I love, when I would have the success stories of my vendors who had just started on, and they were just a Joe Blow in a truck, trying to build their business from the ground up. Fast forward to 3-4 years later, and they just closed $1 million deal.
Yeah, man.
So I loved being a part of those journeys, those stories. I could tell you every last one of my vendors who had babies or got married, and we were really close. I was really invested in their success because their success was my success, was our membership success. And I always love the example that one of my coworkers would use, that we were a three-legged chair, right? You have to have all three legs in order for that chair to stand upright. So it was really like you do well, I do well. So we need to all work together to be better. And he did not have that mindset. And that wasn't something that I was used to. That's not what I was sold when I took on that position. And that's something that I would like to say to people too. If you are in that position and you're feeling stressed out, but you used to love your job, please know and understand that things change. The job that's
True.
perfect for you now
It's
may
true.
be something that is just a season.
Yeah.
And that season may change. And
Um, um,
after winter comes spring, to quote Lauren Hill. So
but
you
that's,
have to
that's a lot of
understand
times that's
that.
what happens when you're dealing with a company, right? A new regime come in there, and all of a
Right.
sudden, without them really saying, you a threat now. Because you've been
Exactly.
here for a minute, they know what you're doing. You may try to come get my job. You know what I'm saying? So they try to
Exactly.
get you out of there, and it's sad, but I've seen it happen.
Exactly. Exactly. And what was really sad about this one is because, I mean, it was really more so like, I felt like my previous boss, who I completely attribute to really helping me to excel. She really kind of poured the gasoline onto the entrepreneur embers that were already there for me. She gave me the confidence knowing that she was backing, like she knew that if I'm saying something, if I'm doing something, I know what I'm talking about, and she would back me. And she really created like a buffer for me within the company that allowed me to be there as long as I was. So I just want to first and foremost say that she was a jewel when it came to that. But I also feel like it was a little bit of, she is a star and I don't want her to come from my job. And I feel like for that reason, she ended up kind of confiding more into one of our other team members, even though for me, I was totally happy where I was. Like, again, my mind never thinks about that. I never want to be anybody else's CEO or EEO or vice president, right? Like, I want to be the vice president of my own stuff. So that's never my aspirations. Like, as long as you let me do what I need to do, then I'm good and we will never have any problems. But because she made that decision, that actually being the person who ended up taking her job.
Mm.
And and that just was kind of the beginning of the end, because that I felt like there was a lot of hostility there because they were constantly pushed, because I was coming up with new ideas and, hey, we can bring in this department and that department and let's create this class. And, I started hosting my own classes that were actually becoming very popular and doing very well. And she had that true entrepreneurial mindset of, okay, if this is a model that's working, hey, we need to start bringing this to our other markets. I never did it for the purpose of, putting more work on you guys, or you guys have to do something else. No, but it's what increased my sales. I was 100% commission, and I was able to double my income
Mm.
while I was there. Like, I love the commission model because I never had to ask for a raise. I never had to ask it or play
You go
the
work
fool.
harder and go get it. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. If I knew that I, had something coming up that I wanted to do, if I wanted to take a trip, okay, guess what? LaShay's not sleeping this week. I will be here when the cleaning crew comes in, okay?
Sleep
And
is
I had
optional this
no
week.
problem. Thank you. And I had no problems with that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was a lot of resentment that person had built. So then once they were put into a position, I felt like they because they didn't have the same level of drive that I had, they spent a lot of time trying to figure out, oh, well, she can't be this perfect, right? Like there has to be something wrong. And that's just not me. I'm a hard worker. There's a little something called hard work in ethics. It's a thing. And
Yeah.
if you possess both and you always put your best foot forward, then you will be able to reap those benefits.
Yeah.
So it just became a completely stressful situation. Like when I say stressful, I mean it got to the point where it felt almost like an abusive relationship. Like this is
Wow.
stressing me out. This is keeping me up at night. Like this is constant. I mean, we have 9 to 5 hours. You're sending emails at 7 o'clock at night and I have to respond like right away. Meanwhile, there are other people in the company, nothing. They're literally not doing their job or not doing anything. And it wasn't until you know one of my family members had actually overheard one of our meetings and was like, what was that? And then I knew, like, it's not just in my head. Like I'm not just
Yeah,
being
yeah,
over
yeah. Somebody outside looking at it and say, okay, that's his perspective.
right.
I
Thank
get
you.
it.
This is a real thing because at the time, I was the youngest on the team. So a lot of times I would get treated and spoken to like I'm a child, like I am, in superior, when realistically my resume is longer than all of y'all because I've been working since age 15. So I'm a decade in this. Y'all are new to this, so y'all are coming from different aspects of life, but I've been doing this for a long time. So it just became so much. So that's why I said I want to tell you about the day before, because it was all of that. And I was in such an incredibly stressful place. And I remember having this moment, and I went to a lot of my personal advisors and kind of talked to them about everything, because I found myself identifying with that job. That job was a part of me. Like I never really imagined being anywhere else because I loved what I did. It would have its good times, it would have its bad times, but I love what I did. I always had a date that I thought that I would quit, and I would push the date back year after year after year after year because I love what I did. And it was a lot of fear that was added into that. And after talking to some of my advisors, one of my advisors actually was one of the ones that was like, you know what? I think maybe you've reached the end of your season here. And that was groundbreaking for me because she was always one of the ones that would say, girl, you don't need to quit. Girl, you need to just stay here, because you're so good. We would like, what are we going to do without you? So when she said that, I was just like, wow, for you to say that. And then I really had a moment of clarity where it was like God kind of filled my spirit with a question. And the question was, if do you really think that you've been successful all this time because of you? Do you really think that if you were to branch off on your own, that I haven't given you everything that you need in order to be
All the
successful?
tools. All the tools.
If Yes. And it was just like, wow. And I had this moment where I was like, me staying here and dealing with this is really me showing a lack of faith in God. It's like I don't believe that He is going to walk with me and guide me in the next journey, and for me to be able to be successful in what my gift call and utilizing my talents. And it's like, by me not taking that step, it's like I'm saying that it was this organization and these individuals who gave me that ability, when they were just an opportunity for me to hone my skills, for me to utilize the gifts that God had given me. And it was only through Him, which is why I started that off in the beginning. In that moment, I learned this. It was never me. It was always Him. And it was my responsibility to utilize those gifts as best as possible. And it became abundantly clear. It was like, you kept pushing that date, but I've been telling you to go. So I'm going to make you as uncomfortable as you can possibly be. And that's why, because I'm never a person, my friends can tell you, you would never think of LaShay as a person like in an abusive relationship. And that is no shade to anyone who has been in that, because I know that it's something that is devastating, that does affect young ladies and young men all across this world. But for me, I've always been kind of like the spitfire, right? And the fact that I got to the point where I would equate my job with being in an abusive relationship, it
Wow.
was just like, how much are you really gonna take? Like, the money ain't even that good. Like,
Yeah.
you
All
doubled
that.
your income by, go ahead.
No, I'm saying to take all that, it's no amount of money, man, to take abuse, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
And
exactly. So,
it's somebody listening to this that needed to hear that.
and I really hope so. And that's why I shared that story. It's not to put any shade on even, past companies that I work for, because again, it did give me that platform in order for me to hone in my skills and do things that I never would have imagined me doing. I never would have imagined that I would stand in front of a room full of multi-millionaires that are 2-3 times my senior and have them actually wanting to know the information that I'm giving them, to be able to do it in a way that was entertaining for them, that they received it, they were happy, they were excited, they learned something, to be able to help so many companies to be able to kind of integrate into this industry that prior to had been really closed off. So I definitely appreciate everything from it, even the bad, because that is what just really kind of gave me a new level of confidence that I never really exuded before, knowing that there was a higher power behind everything that I was doing. And it was so crazy because after that, so the day before, complete anxiety. I was a hot mess. I was stressed. It was a
Did
mess.
you know? Did you know that was one more day and it was over, or did you just
Right. So
pop?
in the moment, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. Like, this is not, because now I'm questioning God, and I'm not going to do that. I know enough to know that's not a good idea.
Don't do that.
So the next day was complete clarity, was complete calm, was complete, the stress was gone. I put in my 2-week notice, and when I tell you that was the sweetest 2 weeks,
Wow.
oh,
Wow.
it was the sweetest 2 weeks. And what was so crazy, so once I made the announcement and kind of put the word out there that, hey, I'm going full time with my business development agency, do you know that I had appointments lined up immediately? I was able to replace my income. Mind you, when I made that decision, I didn't have a single client, okay? I didn't have one. I was like, I'm gonna let go and let God. I don't know how this gonna happen, but it's gonna happen the way that it needs to. I got enough of a savings to get me through several months so that I can build this up. And that's what I planned on doing. I planned on taking a couple of months to be able to build my systems, build my processes, build all of that, because I had just been taking contract work, here and there. I hadn't developed a full program, right? Because I was still working a full-time job, still doing group homes, still doing my cosmetic line. I was doing so much. I never dedicated that much time to it. So when I put the news out there, I replaced my income by the time I left that job. I went from not
Yeah.
having a single client to having enough. Yes, it was amazing. And I was just like, wow. And the greatest feeling was that true last day, because I did do the professional thing. I did put in a 2-week notice and I worked my full time. I didn't quiet quit. So those of you who are out there who are doing that because you never want to block your blessings. And quite honestly, that's what a lot of y'all are out there doing. Y'all are blocking y'all blessings because the work that you put in is not for that employer. It is for you. You never know who is watching. You never know who is around you, who is seeing you put in the work, put in the effort. And it's not for that job. It's for your next one. And it was all that hard work that I put into that job that people, they saw that. So everybody wanted that. Everybody would love to have an employee who would, be willing to do that amount of work. And they saw how I grew that program. So I even had several people, like, instead of being in a position where I'm looking for a job, I had people coming to me wanting to hire me, even though I wasn't even trying to work for anybody. So, that's just motivation for those quiet critters out there. I get why you're doing it, and I get that it can be stressful, especially when you've spent a lifetime, making somebody else rich, but you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you, and you're doing it for that next opportunity. So I'll let that be that. But the greatest thing was the true last day. We ended up having a company meeting, and it was so heartfelt for me. Like, I literally cried during that meeting because my current boss at that time had gotten so toxic and so negative, and really got to the point of like personal attacks and telling me that I wasn't a good fit, and just all these things. And then we have this meeting, and we have employees from all across the company in multiple states and multiple cities, and everyone is saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe she's leaving. She's such an incredible person. She's such a hard worker. She's done so much for our market and for all the different
Perfect.
cities. What are we going to do, now that she's gone, now that we're missing the queen of Houston? Because that's what they used to call me, because I would go to all of our events and, hair, makeup, and everything, because that's just me. And it was just so heartfelt, not because it was a toot of the horn, but it was because some negative, toxic person tried to make me feel like I was less than, like I was incompetent, there was something wrong with me because of his own insecurities. And to see it be confirmed by all these people that I admire, that I've worked with over the years, that have learned me and learned my work ethic. They know me personally as well as professionally, even though I'm fairly guarded with the personal stuff, but they know me as a person. We've gone out, we've had drinks. They know that I'm never a person to sit there across the room and with a snooty face to anyone. I'm the person to walk over to the person sitting by themselves and start talking to them. That's something that my mother instilled in me as a child. She told me, if when you go into this school, because we moved a lot, when you go into the school, you go over and you see a kid sitting by themselves, that's who you need to be friends with. You need to go over there to that person and make it your point to become their friend. And I've always been that way my whole life. So for me to receive that type of toxic negativity, it was hurtful. It was pretty devastating, to be completely honest. So it was just night and day from the day before to that final day. And that was like that last, happy push that I had. And I love the fact that I never burnt any bridges. There may be people that I choose, not to necessarily call friend, but nobody that I have any true hard feelings or bad feelings or negative opinions of. And the fact that no one has that of me, the fact that for a lot of people who left that organization, it was not on the most positive. I am one of the only ones that, for pretty much everybody, still has something positive to say. And that was, out of everything that I've done, I think that was one of the things that I am most proud of, because it was not easy. It was difficult, and it was years of just stuff, but to have been able to keep my head and rise above, when, like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. So that's what that moment was for me. That moment was, you did it. You did it. You went through it. You made it through that season, and now what's next? So hopefully that was motivating to somebody out there, because I mean that's not my only job that I had that was stressful. That was just the one that I actually loved. So I know whether it's a job you love or a job you hate, dealing with uncomfortable situations and having to play politics and deal with other personalities can be a lot. So I hope people find that as motivation, that you can and you need to be following your calling. And your calling doesn't necessarily mean that you start your own business, right? Your calling could be to start and work with someone else's business. Your calling doesn't have to be that you're going to be a corporate executive. I've got a cousin who is a master cleaner. Sounds crazy, but that girl, put her in a room that is disorganized and she will make magic happen. Okay. Sit me in that room, come back in an hour, it looked the same, because that's not my calling. It's not my calling. I get overwhelmed. I've done spun in a circle 6 times because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to even begin. But that's how her brain works, and that is her calling. My mother, her calling is cooking. If you gave this lady 2 ingredients, she'll make some absolute magic happen. That is what she does. So, I think everybody's calling is different, but I think it's important to do that soul searching, and just in whatever it is that you're doing, always put your best foot forward, because you never know who is watching, and you never know. Because again, I started with so many clients because I work with a lot of people and I built with a lot of people over the years, people who I didn't even know were watching, people who I actually hadn't even seen in years were my first consultations when I left. I never knew those people were watching like that. I was just trying to, do my job, but they were.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, I would not have been able to replace my income. That wouldn't have been possible. That would have taken, or not, it would have been possible, but it would have taken more time. But because I was already working on that without even knowing from day one when I took that position, I think everybody should exude that same level of dedication.
Yeah. Think about this for a second. So, and I know you loved your job, right? In a sense, you had to kind of get pushed out of that position,
Yeah.
out of that company,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm
Right?
hard
And
headed sometimes.
and that's how it is, man. In order to grow stuff, man, right? You got to dig up the ground. You got to disturb some things, right? And put that seed in there and water it so that it'll grow, right? The earth, you can throw that same seed on top of the earth, on top of the ground or whatever, ain't nothing gonna happen. But it has to be dug up. That ground got to be dug up so you can plant that and then water it. And then now look, right? You're in a lot better situation. You control your own destiny, right? You helping
Right.
people still. And like you say, you listen. I salute you. I salute you. So I know another thing too. So you're a wholesaler as well, right? Real estate wholesaler. And I was looking at some Facebook here. Let me show you something right quick. Tell me about the day that this happened. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I should have been more professional. I had this already pulled up, but I'm gonna try it. Tell me the day that
No,
this actually happened. That you got this.
oh my goodness. So the day I bought my house. Okay. So that was another one of those like day before, day after things. I knew that real estate was the thing to do. I mean, if 90% of all millionaires are all invested in real estate, you know what I mean? There's a little something there. So I knew that I wanted to even before I got my job, but I knew that I didn't know how. I had to figure it out. So I spent a lot of time talking to lenders and hard money lenders, conventional lenders, talking to real estate agents, like how do you do this thing and how, like, what's the best way to go about it? So I want to share a secret with you guys first, because this is something that a lot of people do not tell you about. So first things first, when you buy a house, there are requirements. A lot of people think you just go out there, you find a house, and then you get your lending, but that is backwards. You need to identify your lender first, because your lender is going to tell you how much house you can afford. Okay, first and foremost. So get your lender, and your lender is going to give you what's called a pre-approval letter. Now, for me, I had to do a little bit in order for me to be in position. I had to fix my credit. I had to, I thought I had to get my savings, but I mainly needed to give it a certain amount of time with me working at my job, because you had to work for a year and like a day essentially in order for you to, or two, it's essentially 2 years within the same industry is what they say. But for me, they were able to use part of my previous employment to help out with that. So got my pre-approval, and what I learned was, with a homestead loan, which only requires you to put down 3% as opposed to the 20% that you usually have to put down for 20 to 30% for an investor loan, you can buy a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. And you
Correct.
only have to put down 3%. So that is a way to be able to kickstart you into being a multifamily investor. And you
Right.
only have to live there for a year and a day. Now, here are the benefits of that. For one, you're in a different tax bracket. Your home is not, the entire property is not going to be taxed as a traditional multifamily property, because you live in one of those units. So there are tax benefits for it. You're not having to pay nearly as much. So I started the journey wanting to do that. And it actually took me a year of looking at different properties, and I didn't find anything that really, really just spoke to me. But I was like, I got to buy something. I need a property, right? I need to buy something. So my agent found this beautiful, beautiful property, the one that you showed in the picture, and it's in Cypress, which is a kind of almost like a suburban area of Houston. And I had never even been to Cypress except to go see that house. We made an offer that day. So that just goes to say, don't sit on the fence, don't take a long time, because these houses, they fly off the market. And if you have done your research to know what you're looking for, when you see it, take action immediately. Do not wait. So we put in an offer. And that whole time, it was very surreal. I had actually downsized from a beautiful 2-bedroom with an attached garage apartment that I was paying close to $2,000 for. I love that apartment, but I knew that I wanted to buy a house, so I needed to save money. So I downsized from that to just a 1-bedroom townhouse. I paid my dues in that little bitty place with my giant dog. We were sitting on top of each other. And my lease was coming up, and it was like really stressful at the time, because I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go and live with a friend for a little bit, because I still haven't found, the property that I'm looking for. I still haven't found that duplex, triplex. And when she showed me that, I pulled the trigger, and it was crazy because nobody really believed it, right? Like at the time I was 24, right? So nobody really believed, like, oh yeah, you're gonna buy a house. Okay, it's gonna take her some time. She'll be working on for a couple of years, but like, one thing about LaShay, if she says she's gonna do something, she's gonna do it. So everybody was kind of like, wait, what? You're about to close? And I'm like, yeah, I bought a house. And they're like, where? Cyprus? Do you know what that is? Like, not really, but I bought a house. I bought a house, and it never hit me, because I told you I think different. So this whole time I'm thinking about it like it's no big deal. The day my house closed, and that night, and I drove to the house and I'm moving my stuff in, that night I cried like a baby. It all hit me. All those emotions that I hadn't given the time of day just hit me. I called my cousin and I was like, this mine. And I just started I'm tearing up now thinking about it. I just started crying. But they were tears, like when people say tears of joy. In that moment, I experienced that. It was so surreal, because I don't know, I guess I feel like part of me the whole time was waiting on the rug to be pulled from under me, like, is this something's gonna happen, it's not gonna close, it's not really gonna close, but whatever, just do what you're supposed to do, right? Just keep on going. So I never really allowed myself to get excited, because I just didn't want, to deal with that hurt if it didn't go through.
Wow.
So once it did actually close, and I had the keys, because that's why it took that moment. It took me having the keys in hand. At the closing table, I was fine. All day, I was fine. It was not until I took my key and I put it into the house, and I'm like walking around these empty rooms, and I'm like, this is really like me. Like, they gave me a house.
Wow.
Which, I mean, realistically, like, they didn't give. I worked for that. It was so surreal. So that was the greatest feeling. And I want to motivate all the young people out there who think that a house is something for you to have when you get married and have kids and all this stuff. No, you can buy a house fresh out of college. Because another thing, so little secret with my house, I bought my house with less than $3,000. Mind you, my house was worth over $200,000 at this point, and I bought my house with equity. I bought my house because it's a massive house, and it's just me. I don't even have kids, but I bought a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house, right? That's a lot of house. That's too much for me. I bought it specifically for the purpose of it being able to be an investment property. I got it for $150, and at that time, when I was going through the closing process, it appraised for $160. So I had automatic equity in my house. Look for equity when you're looking at purchasing a property, not just something that you love, not just it was like the numbers made sense. And my agent knew that about me. Right, because I couldn't get the multifamily property that I wanted. So she made sure that I got a single family property that still had, some investment benefits to it. So, and I knew, my house for the demographic that it would appeal for, because the master is downstairs, the other bedrooms are upstairs, works perfectly for someone with older kids, teenage kids, so I knew that I would have no problem with renting it out or selling it. Or at the time I was in group homes, it would work perfectly for a group home. So I'm like, however I decide to go with this thing, it's going to make sense. So I bought it with automatic equity capture. Then beyond that, I applied to a first-time home buyers down payment assistance program. Now, that is literally money that they give you to put on your down payment. Not give to you, but they put on for your down payment. So you don't have to pay it. I actually ended up getting money back at the closing table. I think I paid maybe, so it was probably closer to $2,000. I think I paid like $2,000 for my my not holding costs, for my
earnest money.
Earnest money, yes, my earnest money. But at closing, by the time they calculated all the numbers and everything, I got a check back. And that was all the money that I had to put down. So people who are thinking that, oh, I'll never have enough money, I got to get like 20,000, 30,000. I bought my house, that house he showed in that picture. I bought that house for less than $3,000. Okay, you do not need a lot of money. And so recently I just found out that, so you know how they say you need to have 2 years of work experience. They will actually take college as your work experience. So if you went full time to a 4-year university, that's why I said you can literally buy a house in college. And $2,000, are you kidding me? How much money that y'all get back on frivolous things, right? For going to school, put that money into account. Put that money in account and buy a house. Now, for that $2,000 or $3,000, I said for that $2,000 or $3,000 investment, I now have an asset. Okay, that is worth over $200,000. I have close to $100,000 in equity. Meaning that for that same house, I have been able to flip $2,000 into $100,000. So my house today, $100,000.
I was a mortgage banker for some years, a loan officer for Prime Lending, one of the number one, at that time was number one bank for mortgages in Texas. So I did that for many years. Of course, I'm in real estate myself, so everything she's saying is right on point. She ain't missed a beat of what she's saying. But unfortunately, man, for some reason we don't go. Listen, but we got to get out, man, and go around to people who are doing some amazing things so that we can see that it is possible. That it is possible, man. So let me tell you about. I know this actually passed already, but let me ask you about this real quick here. Tell us a little bit about this.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Okay, so I am a part of an organization called the Houston Millennials, which is a phenomenal organization that is for creating opportunities for the millennial generation. Although all are welcome, we have boomers who are a part of our organization, Gen Ys, Gen X, just everyone is welcome. But it was originally founded to provide opportunities for millennials in several fields. So they have a sector for health and fitness, they have a sector for political opportunities, a sector for business development, for women, which is the organization, the Women's Committee, who hosted this event, and then for membership, right? So they have 5 different sectors. And when I say opportunities, I mean literally the owner, Ivan Sanchez, actually brings in different political figures into the organization to actually attend their general assembly meetings and give them basically what is the state of the market, or what are the opportunities that exist for the millennial group? What are our needs? And we have an opportunity to be heard because of this incredible gentleman. And with the women's organization, I have met some amazing ladies who I've grown quite close with, and we're always looking for opportunities to support each other. But we were able to develop that sisterhood through the Women's Committee, and by just coming together to host incredible networking events so that people can meet other like-minded people and also non-like-minded people and expand their network. They can meet with different vendors who are selling all kinds of products. So it's an opportunity to support small businesses. But again, the networking opportunities are incredible. I've made several business connections through this organization, which is the whole reason why I decided to sign up, because they provided, such an incredible meeting place, and their numbers are massive. There are always so many people who are there. Their events are always beautifully done. It's not, kind of cheap or corny or anything like that. They always do their events at amazing locations.
So right now, right here it says Hilton Hotel, rooftop pool, business, beach, a beachwear, a poolside networking event. Guys, listen, it's going down, bro. It's going down.
Right. And we actually have another event that I'll be posting on my page later on this week that is in partnership with the business organization. So it'll be the business committee and the women's committee coming together to provide, I think the name for it is the art of networking. So actually, because I don't want to say it wrong, let me go into the art of investing. My apologies. The art of investing. So it'll be bringing, different business people from all walks of life together in one house. It's not to say that you have to own a business necessarily to be a part of this or to come and join this. Again, you never know. If you're looking for a job or looking for other opportunities, you need to come. If you are just trying to expand your network, if you look around and they always say, if you look to your friends to your left and look to your friends to your right, I can show you and tell you who you are. So if you're wanting to expand your network, that is the place to be. If you're looking for an opportunity for you to get active, you were looking for an organization that you could be a part of, then it's something that you want to come to, because you will be able to meet so many of the committee members, and everyone is so friendly. Everyone is so willing to give you information and answer your questions, and they're also willing to listen. There's opportunities for you to really shine. If you're good at something, I'm fairly new to the organization, but I came in with, my ideas, and I think we can do this, and I think we can do that, and they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So it's not one of those things where it's very cliquey like a lot of organizations can be. It's something that truly lives up to its mission. And they have I'm sorry, I can't believe I missed the nonprofit committee as well. So they do a lot of give back, which I thought was nice. It's not just about partying. It's not just about networking. They actually do give back too. Like, for example, 4th of July, we did a picnic for the veterans, at-risk veterans. So we spent a whole day with those guys, and it was amazing. It was so amazing and so humbling of an experience. And the Houston Millennials organization actually put the whole thing together. I just had to show up. So that was really nice as well.
So I got 2 more questions for you. So tell me who this beautiful lady is here. She just lit up my life. When I seen her, I was like, wow.
Oh, yes, that is my actual heart. That is Aaliyah Zion Green, my adorable God baby. Oh my goodness. She is, and you know what's so funny? So I was actually there with my best friend, and when she was giving birth, and we just have such a connection. My best friend always like jokes, and it's so funny. She always says, like, I swear half the time I feel like I gave birth to your child. Like, why is this little girl so much like you? She is so funny. Like, she spent so much time with me when she was little that she actually started picking up like some of my little mannerisms and things that I would say. So she went, oh, that's so cute, baby. That's so sweet. Like her little hand. I just love that girl to death. So yeah, that's my God baby.
What's her name?
Aaliyah Green. Aaliyah Zion Green. I actually named her first name. Aaliyah was, I hate to be that person, but that was like me and my best friend, like favorite 90s artist. So yeah, she is named after the actual Aaliyah. And what's so funny, the year that she was born, Mac actually did a line dedicated to Aaliyah. So I like went out and bought like the whole thing because it was just like a part of that. But yeah, that's who that is. And then she's so cute. She just has that way, like some kids can truly just make your day. Man, yes. And I have like some little videos that I need to post of her playing basketball because it's so funny. She really is just like me. She's a girly girl, but when I tell you this girl can throw a ball like there is no tomorrow, she could hit you in the head from clear across the room since she was about 4 months. She can with the basketball. So she's actually left-handed, but when it comes to basketball, so she can dribble with both hands. And she's only like 4. So I've got like cute little videos of her.
WNBA.
Like,
I'm about to put on, I got Max. I can't remember her last name, but Max is she's from the WNBA. She's not too far from her. I had her on the show one day. I'm about to bring her over so she can play some ball with her.
Yes. She would love that. She would love that.
So I got another question for you. This is personal though. This is a personal question for me though.
Okay.
Small business stand-up podcast. What are some that you may have taken from that?
Oh, geez. So
now for everybody listening though, so small business stand-up, well, basically what we're on right now. But normally we do this on Tuesdays. We have a gamut of people on there. We just talk about topics. What are some that you may have taken away from that? From being on the show?
I've taken a lot. I would say one of my favorite moments was the discussion we had about Claude Anderson, and in that video, that entire discussion was just so eye-opening for me because it was me talking about a lot of different things that I kind of thought, but I never had the opportunity to have that conversation. So that was one thing that I took away. This is a platform that is just so all encompassing, right? Because it's not just real estate. It's not just marketing. It's a little bit of everything. So what I've taken away from it is just more information about all of these different topics. Again, being able to build connections with people. Sheila, Danielle, they're also on that podcast. They are amazing and beautiful minds. I've learned so much from their feedback on it because it's not something where it's just a sounding board, right? Like where it's just one person talking. It's a true discussion and everybody adds something to the conversation. So I would say I learned something every time I'm on it and every time I watch it, because I do go back and I watch ones even if I'm not on there. But that Dr. Claude Anderson one, that one was fire. That one was
we learn a lot when you come on, man. You drop some dimes. I think I was like, okay, that was a mic drop. Every time she say something, we're doing this mic drop.
I love it though. I love it. Like it's been so long since I've been able to do this. I adore doing this, like being able to talk to people about, topics of interest as a broad term, from the political to the social to marketing to business. I love that. And I love that you have created a platform for that. And I am so honored to be a part of that. So thank you for that, because it is important. It's conversations that need to be had. These are perspectives that people need to hear. And even though people are starting to kind of wake up and starting to ask some of these questions, I think you do a beautiful job in the way that you've put this together. So thank you for that.
Oh man, I appreciate that. You make my head got bigger than it really is, man. So listen, this I knew having you on the podcast today was gonna be dope. It's definitely gonna be dope. And I know it's some people who's gonna listen to this and be like, okay, it's time for me to leave this job. You know what I'm saying? But my advice to a lot of people that's out there that's gonna listen to this, man, it's important. It's a couple things that she said before she left. She said first she has money saved up. Right. She has some money saved up. Second, she wasn't gonna let that job basically take her peace away from her. Right. And towards the end of that, even though when she put her 2 weeks notice in, she didn't have nobody in mind as far as who's going to, use her services or whatever the case is. But before she left, because of the stuff that she did while she's at this company, the reputations she built up throughout the company, throughout the customers, the whole nine, by the time she was able to walk away from this, she was making more money than she would have been making working at this company. Now, that's hustling even when you think nobody's listening. Or nobody's watching, right? What you do to the least of the people, it show you who you really are. So my thing is, go hard at your job. I know you're working for somebody else, and maybe not getting paid what you think you should be getting paid. Still do your very best, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. I have guys reach out to me, right, from the podcast, right? And this when we first got started, the number wasn't really moving or whatever the case is. And I had a guy say, he called me up and he recited probably about 16 episodes. I'm like, wow, man, so you really listen too. I'm like, so you watching, you know what I'm saying? So same thing with your job, man. There people who sweeping the floors, they probably know who really the go-getter is in this place anyway. You treat them with kindness, show them respect. The one, like LaShay said, the one that sit to the side that nobody really talk to, go befriend those people. You never know. That may be the next CEO. You never know, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, another thing I'm going to say too is go hard, Miss LaShay. Go hard. You see she knows what she's talking about. You see, Lenny said, let's go. You know? Lenny's on a Real Estate Aholic podcast on Mid-City Network as well. But he said, let's go. So, man, this was bomb. This was a bomb, man. So my last question is,
yes,
did you have fun?
I did. I had a lot of fun. It was nice. It was nice kind of talking about some things that I haven't had time to kind of sit back and reflect on and talk about. So yes, I had fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Invite me anytime. It's always a good time anytime we're together and talking about great stuff.
There's some stuff we didn't even touch on. There's some stuff we didn't even touch on. I took on a couple of notes, but I knew, look, this is gonna be fire. Wherever we start at, because I didn't even map out the first few questions. I'm like, I already know how this is gonna go. She's gonna drop some dimes, so let me just let her flow. You know what I'm saying? So you did your thing. Salute to you and to your fiance. Tell him thank you for allowing us to borrow you for a few minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, and we went over a little bit and tell him that was my bad. You know what I'm saying?
No worries. It was a good talk. It was a good talk. But absolutely. I love it and thank you.
You're welcome. Lenny said a great show, man. Thank you, Lenny. We appreciate you, brother. All right. Hey, listen, go kill the rest of the week, man. Hopefully we see you this Tuesday on Small Business Stand Up. I don't know what we're talking about yet, but we're going to talk about something.
I will be there. I look forward to it. See you.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a great day, man.
Bye.